An interesting report came out today by Boxing News 24, which I'm going to leave the link in the description box below. It was a great article and they mentioned great key points. So make sure y'all check it out. And it read as the WBC president, Suleiman, wants to see Canelo Alvarez fight Jermall Charlo. The same person that granted Canelo Alvarez his request of the French fries title in order to avoid his mandatory Charlo at the time, which Canelo Alvarez elected to give Charlo his strap instead of hopping into the lion's den. Now, ironically, that same person, the WBC president Suleiman, claims he wants to see Charlo versus Canelo Alvarez, which could only mean one thing, and that's the obvious. It was Canelo Alvarez who didn't want the smoke. It was pretty evident since Canelo himself requested the French fries belt and went out of his way in order to find a way out of the lion's den. Even though Canelo Alvarez claims he wants to be the king of the jungle, aka the middleweight division. According to Canelo Alvarez, he wants to be the first Mexican undisputed middleweight champion, which at the time he was well on his way since he held 3 world championship belts. However, Canelo Alvarez ruined the recipe like he always does as soon as he saw a lion on the way, electing to give up his strap instead of facing his fear, the lion that he'd been running from for the past 5 years. You can't be the king of the jungle being a cheetah. The phrase "run in the jungle" doesn't apply to the fastest animal in the animal kingdom. Absolutely not. It applies to the one with the most heart, and that's the lion, because he marks his territory. So instead of Canelo Alvarez marking his territory, he elected to give it up to the lion. This is a bad look on Canelo Alvarez's behalf, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, you have the WBC president himself, Suleiman, claiming he wants to see the fight. You had Oscar de la Hoya trying to force Canelo Alvarez to face Charlo, to no prevail or any success due to Canelo Alvarez calling his lawyer when Oscar de la Hoya tried to speak to him on the matter. It's a desperate time to be a Canelo fan, I'll tell you that much. The Canelo Alvarez fans, when they come to my page, they don't even bring up their dusty excuses that we have to wipe off before we expose them anymore. They just start talking ish from the jump since they have nothing else to say and they don't want to face the truth. So instead of being oblivious to the truth in order to feel better as a Canelo fan, y'all might want to consider facing the truth, even though it's gonna hurt your feelings. However, it will set you free over the long haul. And it's getting harder by the day to be a Canelo Alvarez fan. For all these Canelo Alvarez fans, y'all looking dumb by the second, trying to defend him. Don't get me wrong, the WBC president himself is also a Canelo Alvarez fan. And it's getting harder for him as well. And he's looking ridiculous while he's defending Canelo. But at least he's getting paid to do so. At least he's getting paid to be a fan. However, what is y'all decaf's excuse? Y'all not even getting the best fights out of Canelo Alvarez in his prime. He's not giving y'all them 50-50 fights where you're going to be on the edge of your feet watching the fight the whole night. Matter of fact, it's the complete opposite. Y'all decafs know exactly the outcome because Canelo Alvarez stayed cherry picking by fighting the likes of Rocky Fielding and fighters that's coming off bad performances. Any fighter that looks horrible might have a crack with Canelo Alvarez next. That's the blueprint to getting a Canelo Alvarez fight. So, which by that method, he's not delivering the best memories to remember. So it's pretty hard to be a Canelo Alvarez fan as we speak. Even Suleiman having a hard time being a fan. He wants to see the Charlo fight, but his papi, I think that's how you say it in Spanish, Canelo Alvarez, requested a French fries title in order to avoid Charlo. Therefore, it didn't matter if the WBC president Suleiman wanted to see the fight then or now. None of that mattered because his Migo, his countryman, Canelo Alvarez, elected to give up the belt in order to avoid Charlo. So it was pretty obvious if Suleiman didn't find a way out for Canelo Alvarez, Canelo was going to throw the strap to the trash, just like he did a year or two prior to that, when the WBC was trying to force him to fight Gennady Golovkin. Now, everything that I stated so far is a fact. So y'all decaf's opinion doesn't matter because obviously y'all speaking from emotion, not logic. At the end of the day, or at least the night, facts trump any opinion any given day of the week. Also keep in mind, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. And when the truth is spoken, the other side is nothing but a lie. See, unlike our decafs, Akhi pretty much know that there's two sides to every story. And I'm always down to listen to y'all other side of the story on split decision. However, like I always tell y'all, when the truth is spoken, the other side is nothing but a lie trying to cover up another lie. Therefore, that's why Suleiman comments is full of errors, due to the fact that he's trying to please both sides. He's trying to please the boxing hardcore fans and the decafs. He's trying to please Canelo Alvarez fans and the boxing fans, or even the Charlo fans. You can't do that. It's either or. The truth don't apply to both. Don't get me wrong, I'm also a Canelo Alvarez fan. However, I'm more so a boxing fan, and Canelo Alvarez let me down too many times. So let's go ahead and dissect what the WBC president had to say, since he made a lot of throwaway comments to throw off the fans when they read his statements in order to please both sides. However, like I stated earlier, that's not possible. So before I do so, subscribe below if you're trying to get smarter by the minute. If you're trying to get dumber by the second, don't. And listen to these decafs, aka dumb casual ass fans / old media. Shout out to Dante for being the entrepreneur of new media that I'm a part of. And if you're a casual fan and you want to be a hardcore, then join the Akhi family by clicking on the notification bell to get notified every time Akhi posts or go live on Split Decision. Is a boxing debate / talk show where Akhi is the past, present, and future when it comes to pound for pound, debating wise, and all of the above. So call in, tune in. Akhi's undefeated, knocking on all tops of decafs. Is free smoke. Quarantine season won't even keep Akhi in the crib because it's smoke season every season, regardless of Rona or not. So call in. Akhi mix master engineer produce Split Decision while knocking y'all decafs out. Y'all want to know why that is? Because y'all easy work. Just like that. Easy work. So let's dive into the business at hand. Just a quick side note. Unlike usual, I'm not just going to quote Suleiman, then talk about his comments. I'm actually going to talk about his comments as I'm quoting him, since this is full of errors. So Suleiman stated, and I quote, "Yes, it's possible. Canelo has fought at 168 and 175 in his last two fights. Weight by itself is something those fans should be understanding and not get concerned. If Canelo was fighting at 160 constantly, then it's something you could discuss. Charlo is doing his own career well. He defended his title. He a great champion, and he's a great ambassador in boxing. So I understand fans wants to see Charlo versus Canelo. I want to see Charlo versus Canelo, but I also want to see so many other fights that Charlo has available to grow as a champion. But I understand and I appreciate and respect the concerns. I'm a fan, and there are fights that I would like to see. But we can't have it all. We have to see what matchups can be made. And what we try to do is meditate the possibilities of those fights being made, said Suleiman. Now that sounded like Suleiman is making excuses for Canelo, because he claims he wants to see the fight, but the reason why the fight haven't happened yet, even though it been like 5 years already, I mean, damn. He claims it's because it's so many other fights. But Charlo was Canelo Alvarez mandatory for the WBC strap. However, Canelo elected to give it to him. And why that is, if you may ask, is because Canelo knew the WBC president had his back. And that's pretty evident due to the fact that the WBC stood up. How come he didn't tell Canelo Alvarez like he told Canelo back when he avoided Gennady Golovkin for the first time, around the time when Gennady Golovkin still had his hype aura around him, where Canelo Alvarez actually thought Gennady Golovkin was the truth. He elected to avoid Gennady Golovkin until he saw Gennady Golovkin being exposed by Daniel Jacob and Kell Brook. After that, he had the cojones to fight Gennady Golovkin. So is that what he's looking to do with Charlo and Andrade and all of these other fighters he's been avoiding, including his countryman Benavidez? However, now all of a sudden he want to claim he don't fight Mexicans, even though he fought Angulo and Lopez. But never mind, those were easy fights. He was just talking about when it comes to tough fights, he don't fight his countrymen. How y'all explain Canelo Alvarez comments, Canelo fans? How you explain him claiming that Saunders is boring, he runs around, and as soon as he looks exposed, he's in negotiations with him? You literally can't make this up. Canelo Alvarez contradicts himself every single breath he takes. Even though y'all want to claim he the best in the world, even though he's not the best in his division. I mean, this man said that Gennady Golovkin has to do this and have to do that. He lost to Derevyanchenko. I won't fight him till he do this or do that. And then he right back in negotiations with him. Then y'all wonder why Gennady Golovkin is treating him like the fool he is, walking away from the table, because he realized regardless of what I do, regardless if I lose my last fight to Derevyanchenko, Canelo is still gonna want to fight me, because all he care about is me looking exposed, which that's gonna happen on more than one occasion in the long haul. That's Gennady Golovkin mindset as we speak. If y'all Canelo Alvarez wonder why that is, y'all could thank Canelo Alvarez for not being a man of his word. Now, Suleiman added, the franchise destination is not a new championship. So basically, Canelo gave up his strap for no damn reason. Pardon my language. Suleiman also added, it is not a new belt, it's a concept. The French fries destination is to feed the community. Excuse me, that was wrong. He stated, the franchise destination is for elite fighters that move the industry of boxing. He also added, there are fighters that are in different weight categories and are fighters that have different contractual needs to fight the best competition out there, regardless of what championship they are holding and what division they are fighting. I think he meant what division they are fighting. Canelo Alvarez and Vasily Lomachenko hold these characteristics. He also added, that is why the WBC has implemented a new concept. Nothing ever happened similar to this. I understand there might be confusion for the fans. The reason for this is to have the possibility to make the best fights possible happen. If that happened to create anger and confusion in any way, I choose to give boxing the best fights over any other counties. End of the quote by Suleiman. I think it's fair to say that he tried to be politically correct while being politically incorrect. I mean, the way he's talking about the concept of the French fries title, is absolutely ridiculous, because the concept of the French fries title is only for the fighters on the hope list to avoid the fighters on the coincidental list. He talked about nothing ever happened like this before. No-ish, because it's a bunch of BS. Y'all came up with it out of nowhere for Canelo Alvarez to avoid Charlo and for Lomachenko to avoid Devin Haney. 2 fighters on the hope list avoiding 2 fighters on the coincidental list. Even Stevie Wonder could peep this. He don't have to wonder. He could clearly see the true concept of the WBC French fries title and their destination to create more confusion in the sport of boxing. These the same organization, the WBC organization, the World Boxing Corruption Organization, that increased the computer raw limit so fighters could cheat, so they could eat contaminated meat. They stood by Jimenez, who failed both the A and B sample for steroids, and they still claim her as their champion. The World Boxing Corruption Organization is what's wrong with the sport of boxing, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, Suleiman is ready to sell his soul for some bread. I thought he had money. Usually, if you have money, you can't be bought. But that's not the case for Suleiman, because apparently Canelo Alvarez have him in his pocket, just like Canelo has all the judges' scorecards in his other pocket. So with that being stated, the man said the whole purpose of this French fries title that you can't defend or win is to make the best fights available, which is absolutely ridiculous, and it's pretty evident since Canelo Alvarez fight right after avoiding Charlo was versus the weakest link at 175, a fighter that had a foot out of the door, a fighter that came out claiming, if you pick me to win versus Canelo Alvarez, then you don't know ish about boxing. If you wonder why that is, due to Canelo Alvarez diva requests and requirements, dehydration clauses, you name it. He even made his own weight at some point. But regardless of all of that, he don't even fight fighters coming off good wins. And to be honest, we actually praising Canelo if we claim he's not fighting fighters coming off good wins. He's fighting fighters coming off horrible performances. You don't believe me? I'll let Canelo Alvarez speak for himself. He fought Kovalev, win a yard that knocked his own self out by gassing out, was a punch removed from knocking out Kovalev. You could ask his trainer in the 8th round. He also elected to fight Billy Joe Saunders, the same guy he avoided in the past, as soon as he looked exposed his fight prior to that, fighting on a YouTube undercard, ladies and gentlemen. But y'all want to claim who the hell is Charlo when he actually living in a lion's den, in a crib bigger than an arena. However, Billy Joe Saunders, who just fought on an undercard of a YouTube card, y'all have no problem with that. Right after coming off a horrible performance to a nobody. Furthermore, even Gennady Golovkin. He fought Gennady Golovkin after Gennady Golovkin really lost to Daniel Jacob, but they saved his tail since he have that hope insurance, and also because it's Gennady Golovkin, it's drama show. They wanted to sell that fight with Canelo Alvarez, right? He also fought Gennady Golovkin coming off a horrible performance where he arguably lost. And he's trying to do the same thing again to Gennady Golovkin coming off a loss really versus Deryachenko. Can y'all believe Canelo Alvarez is 29 years old and been a professional for almost 15 years. However, he only fought 3 fighters in their prime? That's a horrible record, ladies and gentlemen. But y'all claim this man has the deepest resume, but he only fought 3 fighters that were in their prime. And he arguably got 2 to 3 losses, but thanks to the judges that he has in his pocket, they will take care of that little bitty issue for Canelo Alvarez that he have going on. I mean, versus Larry, he lost 8 rounds. One judge had him winning every single round. Apparently, the judge wrote the scorecard before he even watched the fight. Even with the Trout fight, it was a pretty close fight. However, the judges had it all the way for Canelo. Even the Floyd Money Mayweather fight, they tried to rob Floyd, even though Floyd whooped his tail every single round and almost every single minute of every single round. So with that being stated, for Sulaiman to claim that the destination for the French Fries title is to make the best fights available and they have to co-sign on your fights, it's absolutely ridiculous, because the only destination for the French Fries belt is to change the word from cherry picking to French fries picking. I mean, the WBC president has the audacity to lie to the boxing fans, claiming that the whole destination for this French fries is not to feed the community, but to make the best fights available. I mean, the decafs can even see this coming a mile away. And when I say this coming, I mean this lie coming from this WBC president. However, of course, they're going to co-sign it because they're so desperate. But for him to claim that when Charlo versus Canelo is way bigger than Canelo versus Kovalev or Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders, you name it. Canelo versus Charlo in Dallas will be a mega fight. And I'll promise you that. And I could bet on it today that it will be way bigger than Canelo versus Kovalev. However, they want to claim that was a historical fight, including the WBC president. But facts say otherwise. People lie, however, numbers don't lie. And numbers say Canelo versus Kovalev was one of Canelo Alvarez's lowest numbers to this day. So with that being stated, subscribe below if you want to get smart about a minute. If you're trying to get dumb about a second, don't, and listen to these decafs/O media. And by decafs, I mean dumb, casual ass fans. And if you are a casual fan and you want to be a hardcore, all you have to do is click on the notification bell to get notified every time Akhi posts or go live on Split Decision. So I challenge all of y'all decafs to call in to Split Decision, as I'm knocking y'all out left and right. I literally have the best record in boxing when it comes to debating. Undefeated, possibly almost 500 fights in, but y'all decafs are so pathetic that I don't even add the KO to my record. Because you have to have credibility when you're talking to me. And knocking you decafs out is literally but a sparring match to me. I'm teaching y'all a thing or two about boxing. So subscribe below, click on the notification bell. Shout out to my Akhi family. Akhi stand for my brother, my amigo. So big shout out to all of my amigos and to all my Akhis. Ramadan Mubarak wa kull aam wa antum bakhair. Subscribe below, click on the notification bell, and to be continued on the next episode of Akhi TV. Till then, follow Lunatune Boxing for the funniest boxing memes. If a picture says 1,000 words, his picture says 1,000,000 words. Peace, and we out of here.